So now I am in this function 40145E, and kind of what I will do is kind of to quickly. So one of the way to kind of see like how many. So what the question was?
How many conditional jumps are there
Jumps.
in the function?
Yes. Okay. So let's go to that, and kind of to one of the way is actually very tough part is kind of actually go to one of all the instruction and kind of search the jump instruction, jump conditional jump. That one of the thing I'm seeing here. But the other easy way actually to press the space bar and then kind of go over here. Okay. So as you can see, now it's very easy for me to kind of check the jump conditional jump. Okay, so one of the conditional jump I am seeing over here is the JZ, so that is one. Then I am seeing over here that is second part is the J not zero, and then there is the third one. Okay, so now with this thing with the space bar, it's very easy for us to kind of go through the search for the conditional jump where it is happening. Okay, and as you might recall that as I have told that the green arrow actually tells you like if the condition was true, and the red arrow tells if the condition turns out to be false, and that's how the thing happened over here, and you can see the full flow. So to answer the question, so there are 3 conditional jump instruction in this function. Okay, so I hope this is easy to understand, right? Any questions in that?
No, Pragyan. Can you open it completely, Pragyan?
Okay.
IDA.
Yes. Okay. Okay, you mean
Yeah,
maximize?
yeah, maximize.
Okay. Yes.
Because we are not able to see that graphical represent.
Okay. So okay, just let me see if I can kind of. Okay, guys. So is it clear now? Are you able to view that the function? So the function is starting from here. Okay, and then I am saying this.
Pragyan,
Yes.
can you just give me a moment? I'm getting a
Yes.
call.
Yeah. Sure. Sure. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, Pragyan. So
Yes.
Shava's laptop got switched off itself. So
Yeah. So we'll wait for her. And in the meantime, do you have any questions regarding the things that we are seeing right now?
Pragyan, I mean, why are we not able to see the graphical representation?
So I am in the graphical screen. So is it not viewable?
Yeah, I'm able to see it, but along with it, we will be able to see the graphical representation, right? So, I mean, since it is small, are we not able to see that, or else how it is?
No. Okay. So thing is like I am inside that function, the 40145E, and that
Okay,
function is actually very small. Okay. And
okay,
now,
okay,
yeah, and I am in the graph view of only that function. Okay. And that's why
okay,
the graph of that is quite small. Okay. And
okay. If it is very big, then
yeah,
uh,
yes,
we will
yeah.
be able to see that graphical representation at the right side and the left side.
Oh,
Will not see all that
yes.
flow.
Yeah. The small one, the small thing to kind of go through the path. Yeah. That also, I am also not seeing that. So let me see if I go to certain other instruction. So let's, that thing. Let's see if view opens a view. Yeah. Okay. Now you got it. This is what you mean, right? The
Broken.
Yeah,
That's right.
yes, yeah. This is very handy. Like you can quickly go through the instruction, the whole code. Yeah. So this was the graph overview. And as I hope I'm audible to all of you, both of you.
Yeah.
Okay, great. So this is how things work, and kind of then I just calculated, okay, how many kind of jump instruction are there, and the jump 0, jump not 0, and jump not 0. So almost three conditional jumps are there. So that's what like kind of it answers my first question in this, like how many conditional jump are there. And so this is what happens, and then let's go to some more questions over here. Okay. Okay, so now there are four questions that kind of you guys also need to work on and kind of try to answer this all question. So the first is, what are the addresses where the three conditional jump in 40145 are located? So I think it's a very easy question. What we will do is kind of, so over here in this part, this menu, if I just press space, so I see the first instruction jump 0 is actually in this part, 00400147C. So that's one of the offset. And similarly, we will kind of record the offset for other two. Okay. And that's what will kind of like, suppose I want to know what the offset value of this one, I'll just press space and it will give me 401493. Okay. So kind of this answers my first question. Okay. What are the addresses where the three conditional jumps are in the sub 40154E are located? Okay. Now the next question is, examine the JZ instruction at 40147C, the first one, and what condition is being evaluated. Okay. So let's go to that. Let's go over here. And yeah, now let me know like what instruction is kind of executed over here, which is kind of uh,
The and instruction.
yeah, and instruction is kind of done. And can you also might be like saying some more code above that and kind of let me know what this block of code is actually doing? Any idea?
It's
In this
writing
case,
something to a file.
yes, correct. Yeah. So it's actually this block of code is actually kind of calling the write file. Maybe it is writing something to a file. Yeah. And kind of the return value, the end result of the write file actually get stored in the EAX register. Okay. And what's the return value is more, I think that will be much more clear if you go to the write file MSD and documentation. Okay. So what is happening is kind of this write file is getting called, and these are the parameters that are pushed to the stack. Okay. As an argument to the write file, the write file is getting called, and once this write file is kind of returning, it is setting some value to the EX. Okay, it is setting some value to the EX, and then we are checking if what we are doing is we are checking and EX. So that's what happened is and is actually setting the kind of doing an and instruction as well as setting the 0 flag over here, and kind of then we are checking if jump if 0. So what we will do is kind of we will go over here and we will kind of add a breakpoint, and then we'll also add a breakpoint over here, and then we'll add a breakpoint over here. Okay, so let's try to see that in a much more better view. So let's run this. Yes, software exception happen. Uh, software breakpoint exception. Okay. Okay. So views. Okay. Yeah. So uh, I am in the breakpoint, it seems, because let me just check that once. The EIP is 74. Let's run this again. Just give me a minute. As I'm facing some issues over here. It seems like I'm not able to touch this line. There is some other exception that is happening before or after this. Okay. So let's go to this thing and kind of examine the jump instruction 401, what condition is being evaluated. Okay. So what the thing is that the jump instruction actually over here is actually calling the, yeah. So it's actually calling the write file over here. And what happened is like write file actually returns 1. Okay. So it actually returned 1 and kind of it is saving that in the EX register. Okay. And then what is happening is kind of we are checking, we are doing an AND operation, AND EX. So suppose if the value was 0, so the what will happen, the 0 flag will be kind of will be set to 0, and if it is a kind of a 1, the 0 flag will be set to 1. Okay, and that's what kind of JZ is actually using, and kind of it is either jumping to this instruction if the condition was true, and if the condition was false, then it is jumping to this instruction over here. Okay, so this is what is happening over here. The write file is getting called, and then the function is executing, and if the function is successfully executed, the EX value will be saved to 1. Okay, and then we are comparing if the value is 1 or a 0. If it is a kind of a, it can either also return a 0 value if it is failing, and the jump instruction in that case will be kind of jumping to this instruction, the false one. Okay, so this thing will be actually more clear. I have some more example where this thing will be much more clear to you guys. Okay, so that's one of the thing. Now let's go to the third question, which is examining the J and Z instruction at 401482 and what condition is being evaluated. Okay, 401482. So let's go to that. 401482. So this is the instruction over here, 401482, and kind of let's see what the instruction it is executing over here. Okay, so as you can see, just over here it is comparing something. Okay, it is comparing number of bytes written. Okay, so what is happening actually over here is kind of whenever we are kind of a writing any data to any of the file, we are actually kind of we are telling, okay, suppose I have to write 1 GB of data to a file. I will like there will be a kind of a loop that happens. The program will not write the whole 1 GB of the data to exactly at a one moment to a file. It will do that in a little way, like maybe suppose 1 MB at a particular time, then it will again loop and write another 1 MB to the file, then again it will loop and write 1 MB, another 1 MB to the file. So what the instruction is actually doing, if it is checking if the number of bytes written is 0. Okay, like if it is like comparing this value, okay, comparing the number of bytes written to 0. So kind of it is kind of checking if there is any extra bytes that needs to be written to the file, and if there is kind of an extra byte that needs to be written to the file. Okay, so what will happening if there is nothing that is left to write to the file, it will go over here the red part and it will return. But if it is there, if there is some byte left that needs to be written, it will go to here, and as you can see, as you can maybe assume, there should be a looping thing, and as you can see, it is jumping to this thing, and then there is a big green arrow, and if I double click that, I'm again going to this function. Okay, so that's where you can see the loop is in the action. Okay, so it is again like kind of it is checking if the number of bytes written is still there. So it is jumping to this one, and it is again going back to the old instruction. It is writing again to the file, and if the things are over, it is then exiting from here and kind of exiting from the process. It is returning to the callee function. So I hope it is somewhat clear, like what I mean to say over here, like how the jump instruction, conditional jump are working over here. Is it clear to you guys, like how the looping is happening over here, how the if else are happening over here?
Yes, Prabhu.
Okay,
Yeah,
great. Okay, so we will see like in much more detail, like how this comparison thing is happening, how this AND thing is happening. We need to see that in the part of kind of like in the register value, the EX, the 0 flag, and all of the other things. Okay, so let's move forward now. And now there is another question, like examine the jump instruction at 401493. Okay, so let's go to that 401493. 401493. Yeah. So this is another one. Okay. Okay. So here again, kind of like it is subtracting something from the EAX. Okay. And this subtraction actually again like changing some of the flag value of the zero flag or carry flag, especially the zero flag. And kind of again, it is kind of jumping to the instruction. Okay. So what is happening over here is, suppose I have some bytes that needs to be written. Okay. And then kind of I need to go to that, then it is kind of subtracting the value, and if it is kind of going to 0, then it is again exiting from the process. So actually I need to maybe run this and kind of maybe see in much more detail what's the values that are going into this EAX, and then kind of how many bytes need to be written to the file. So these all things we need to maybe check in much more in much more detail from the register value. But overall we can see that it is kind of subtracting something, then the number of byte written with the EX value, and kind of then kind of checking if that is kind of 0, then it is if not 0, then it is exiting jump not 0 and jump if 0. Okay. And if the instruction is false, it is going here, and if the instruction is true, it is going to again to the loop. So guys, till now my idea is actually to showcase you like, okay, what are the instruction it is affecting this jump instruction, but we need to see later like how this thing, what the changes that it is making in the register value. So we'll see that. Okay. So for now, we can tell, okay, kind of these 4 questions we have successfully answered, like what are the instruction that is evaluated in the beginning. Okay. So overall kind of as I told that for the second answer, it is checking if the write file got succeeded. If it is, then it will return 1, and what will happen, the function will then exit. Okay. And in the third one, actually checking like if the number of file written to the file are greater than 0. Okay. And if it is false, it is jumping to, again it is like jumping to the loop or exiting from the process. In the fourth one, uh, it is checking if there are additional byte left to write to the file. The write file API actually may return true while only having written some of the byte it was asked to. Okay. So in the write file, what will happen, I suppose I have to do, as I told, like if I have to write 1 GB of file. So if I am telling, okay, write 1 MB of the file first, and if it is done, then it will like kind of tell, okay, it's done. It will return me true. But then I also need to check if there are extra bytes that needs to be written to the file are still left. Okay. So that's what the last instruction actually checking, and then kind of jumping again to the making the loop over there, and kind of completing the write instruction, writing the full 1 GB of the data, suppose in the file that was specified to write file. Okay. So in an overview, this is how the jump instruction actually works. And actually there are a lot of exercise now in below where we will be seeing those things in much more detail. Okay. So now over here, I will be going to the sub instruction, the function 403981, and let's go to that, an offset value 40396. So let's go to that 40396. So space, I can also press G over here and directly jump to that 40396. Okay. So with that, actually kind of I jump directly to that instruction. Okay. And now if I press the space button, this is how the actually the function is looking like. It's a very big function, and currently I am interested in just a minute, I am interested in this instruction 40396. Okay. So let's see like how the kind of if else is implemented. So now we have seen the jump instruction, and we need to see like how the if else is getting executed over here. So but before that, we need to see how the if else actually looks like in a C language or any Python language, and then how it resembles in a assembly language. Okay. So I will stop here and kind of just let me take a 2-minute break, and then I will continue with this if else block. Okay. Language. language. Okay, so now we are seeing the if else program in C language, and we will see like how it looks like in the assembly language. So what is happening in if I see this block, the left block, we are seeing that there is some variable, it is getting compared to some hex values, and it kind of, if it is true, if both this thing is equal, it is then it is executing the this block of code that is inside this curly bracket. And else, if this thing is not true, that suppose the value is different than this value, then it will actually jump from this checking directly to this second block, else part. It won't execute the first code block, it will execute the second code block. And once this second code block is done, then it will like sequentially execute below this curly bracket. I hope this part is clear, right? Any questions regarding the left part?
No problem.
Okay,
No,
great. Okay, so now we will see like how this thing looks like in kind of a assembly language. So what is happening over here is, first of all, I am moving the var1 value, to the EAX register, and then kind of I'm comparing the EAX register with the value. So here the comparison is between the EAX and the immediate value, 0xBA, something like that. And kind of if it is jump not equal, so if it is equal, then it's fine. If it is equal, the instruction will happen sequentially. But if the value is not equal, it will directly jump from this part to the block 2, and the block 2 actually is the else part, and from here it will jump to here, the second code block. And once the second code block is done, it will execute continuously. Okay, and now if this value was equal, what will happen? This thing will be kind of it won't jump to block 2, and it will be a sequential, and the first code block will be done. And then I don't want, so if this first code block has been executed, I don't want it to execute sequentially. That if it is executing sequentially, it might also execute a second code block. That's why I'm now jumping from here to the end label. The end label is continue from here. Okay, so any questions in this assembly language? I hope this is very easy to understand over here, right? Any questions regarding here?
No problem. I've understood it.
Okay,
okay.
yeah. Okay, so this is how actually, like when you will be seeing any assembly language kind of where you want to see if there's a if else block, so this is how the things will be looking in the assembly language. So here the comparison is getting done, then it is jumping to some block 2, the if else, the else part. Otherwise it will just execute sequentially. It will go to the first code block, and then it will jump to the end part. Now the things might get more complicated if there is not just a single if else, but it is if it is something like if this, else if this, else if this, and then else, then again the things will become much more complicated. But I know that it will be much more, you can also guys now write that thing in assembly language, like how the things will look like. So if there is another like else if over here, so then the block jump not equal will change to something. There might be a little bit difference in the assembly code, but you will be able to figure out like, okay, if it is just a if else, or if it is like a if else if, then else if, like kind of a switch case, and then it is you can make it out from the assembly language. Okay, so let's go to the first question over here. So there are almost 4 questions, and I will be dealing with the 3 questions. The optional one you can maybe look at in much more detail in this function 40F530. So we will seeing these 3 questions now, and once this is done, actually I will be kind of maybe stopping today's class, because in the next class I will be going to in the looping part, and looping part is actually very big, where I need to see a lot of things are there. Okay, like okay, so I will be just ending with the 3 questions, and then I will be stopping this class. Okay, so let's go to this question one by one. So the first one is, describe the condition for the if else statement beginning at 403A at D. Okay, so let's go to that. 403A at D. Okay, so this is where kind of the functions code is there, and I want to see the if else part over here. So let's see what it is happening over here. Okay, so what is happening here is, you can see that there is a if else, there is a like a else no part, there is also a green arrow Okay, it is like the no part, it is the true part. Okay, and what is happening is before this jump is getting executed, jump if signed. Okay, what is happening is it is calling a function called obtain user agent string. Okay, now to know what this function is, actually again we need to go to the MSDN document and kind of learn more about this function, what all this thing execute takes, and kind of what the value is returning. Okay, so what I have done is I've actually gone through that and I have written some of the answers over here. So before that, I'll just go to this. So what is happening is over here is it is calling this function, and then this function might be returning some code, some returning value to the EAX. Okay, and then kind of this test is actually doing an AND instruction of EAX and EAX, and then kind of it is checking what's the value, what the, like it is setting up the zero flag over here, doing an AND operation, and then this JS is kind of checking the flags value and kind of either going to this loop or going to this code of block. Okay, so let's see more about this obtain user agent string, what this thing is doing. Okay, so what is happening is actually no error code is 0. Okay, so let's go to that. Okay, so what is obtain user? So do you know, guys, what is user agent string? Any guess where you have seen that? I think in the HTTP header you might have encountered that. Any idea?
Browser that we use, basically the user agent that the malware must have used to make the connection.
Yes. So obtain user string agent string, actually it is actually checking the default value. It is checking the default value of the system. Okay, if it is kind of connecting with any website, it's trying to take get the default value out of that. Okay, and maybe it is setting its user agent string with the value it was written from there. And kind of what is happening over here is kind of this obtain user agent string is actually kind of return three kind of values. So what is happening over here, I will just go to this function obtain user agent string and MSDN documentation, and we'll just go over here. Let's see the return value. Okay, so the return value is something this. Three values are returned by this. So three different kind of value can be returned by this function. Okay, and as I told, the return value will most of the time, 99% of the time, will be stored in the EAX register. Okay, so now the thing is like it can either return no error, it can either return E out of memory or E invalid arg. So what is happening? The no error, it will not return a string thing, it will return a number. Okay, so the no error value is actually 0. Okay, and this two part, the value is actually a negative value. Okay, so no error returns a 0 value, and this two return value actually gives a negative value. So a negative value can be anything, right? So the EX value will either be a negative value or either it will be a 0 value. Okay, so what the thing is happening over here is, in this code, suppose the EAX was 0. Okay, so when this test EAX and EX was done, so what will happen? The 0 flag will also be set, and also the sign flag will also be set. Okay, what's the highest bit of the value? Okay, so what is happening, if the sign flag is kind of not set, then it is jumping to this block of code, and if the sign flag is set, then it is jumping to the green part, that is this part of code of block. Okay, so this is what is happening. So what will happen is, like, suppose you can assume now that if I get something from there, if I am calling this function obtain user agent string, so if I am successful in getting a default value, so what will happen, the if there is some default value set for the user agent string, so the EX value will be 0. Okay, so when I am doing the EX value, when I am doing the AND operation, the sign flag will be also 0. Okay, will be also 0. And then what will happen, is, that means that we have that the user identity string is available, and jump if sign flag, it is telling jump if sign flag. Okay, so since the sign flag is 0, okay, over here, so what will happen is we will jump to string, and we will jump to this part over here. Okay, and if the flag string was set. Okay, so any questions from you till now? We actually need to kind of
Again,
understand the flow over here. Yeah,
if
please.
it
Yeah.
if it is zero flag, then a JS will move to the left side, right? Since
No,
you haven't got.
no, so thing is kind of the test instruction actually over here is actually setting two different flags, the sign flag as well as zero flag, and the jump
Okay.
JS. The JS is not kind of carrying the zero flag; it is only carrying the sign flag. Okay, and
Okay.
now if the sign flag was set to one, then it is kind of jumping to this part, and if it is not set, if it is set to zero, it is jumping to this part. So in an overview, I'm just trying to explain that in much more detail. So suppose I didn't get anything from there.
Again, let us say that EAX value is 0.
Yes. So what that means? That means that there is some default value that I can get for the user agent string. Okay. So that means that a malware don't need to set anything, right? So that's where
Yes, okay.
I am jumping to this part. And now suppose I have called the obtain user agent string and I didn't got anything. That means the malware need to set something for the user agent string. That's where I'm jumping to this part. And as you can see in this part, there's a string called Mozilla 4.0 compatible. So here the malware is actually setting a default user agent string for the for calling any. So if I just go to this, so it's actually trying to call it is trying to maybe call a URL with setting the post header with the user end string 4.0. So when it is not able to kind of get any default user end string by calling this function, it is actually trying to set a default user end string. Okay, and if it is able to get that, it is directly setting up the post header over here. So now is it clear now how this if and else part is happening over here?
Yeah, Prakat. But like if EAX value is 0, then
Mhm.
what is the sign flag representation? Is it 0 or else is it 1?
So let's see that. Okay, so ex, let's just make, actually I need to calculate that. Just let me see once, just give me a minute. So ex will be
Yeah,
0,
Prakat.
and yeah, ex will be 0, sign flag will be also be 0. Okay, so if the sign flag is 0, so actually it's a bit more complicated. Actually the user end string is setting me 0, and then jump is 0 actually checks if the thing is actually set to 1. Okay, if it actually set to 1. So what is happening is like the user, suppose it is returning -1, so the jump sign flag will be 1, right? So then it is jumping to this part, and if it is kind of successful, the jump flag will be set to 0, and then it will become false, and then it will jump to this part. Okay, is it clear now somewhat?
Yeah, Prakat.
So I'm repeating that again. If the user end string return -1, so what will happen, the jump flag will be actually set to 1. Okay, it will jump to this part, right? And if the agent string return 0, that means the success, it was successful, but the jump sign flag will be set to 0, and then it will jump to this part, because I have already we are already getting a default value from there. Okay, so it's a bit more complicated with what the function is returning and how the sign flag is set, but sign flag only tell yes if the sign flag is set to 1. So when the sign flag is set to 1, it will go to here, and the sign flag is set to 0, it is going till here. Okay, and that sign flag is getting affected by the test EAX, and this value is again getting affected by the obtain user end string. So I know it's a bit more complicated, but I know I hope like I am able to explain like how the flow is happening over here, right?
Okay.
Okay, great. And now guys, you might ask me like, okay, how can I know what's the return value of this no error? No error will obviously not be returned as a string, but it will having some default value. So in that case, actually, we need to kind of see system error code MST, and we need to go through a documentation and kind of see over here. So error success is actually, if you see, the default value is 0. Okay, and then there are kind of, you can go through all of this and kind of see what's the different value that comes out of, like, suppose you are getting error right project, so what's the different default value that will be the integer value that is linked to this code, error right protect. So for this you need to go through this documentation, and you can get the actually the list of values that are written. For error success is 0. Okay, so that's where the no error is actually kind of giving me a 0 value. Okay, and then by here seeing the assembly code, I am able to know, okay, what's the assembly, what's the value that is returned to the ex, and then there is some AND operation, and then JS is actually kind of checking it should either it should jump to this code of block, or either it should jump to this code of block. So it's a bit more complicated now, but I hope now it's somewhat very easy to understand what the thing is happening over here, right? Now even like if you see this block of code and this block of code, I hope 99, almost say I think 98% of the code is actually kind of understood by both of you guys. Only one or two line of code may be a new thing, but I think almost all the things are now easy to understand by both of you guys, right?
Yep, again.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Praveen.
Yeah, and then it means like, okay, you are now now getting much more confident with the assembly language, seeing the assembly language, and most of the thing you have already seen, the calling the function, pushing something in the stack. So now you are understanding what the things are happening over here in the assembly code. Okay, so now, but the thing is, there are a lot of things that I will discuss, and once the assembly language, this module 2 is completed, so you will be kind of almost comfortable with seeing any code or block that is happening at anywhere. So even if I jump to any random code, you will be able to tell, okay, what the thing is happening over here. So even if I jump from here, you can tell, okay, jump is getting, it is a conditional, it is an unconditional jump here, unconditional jump, unconditional jump, unconditional jump. That is something calling the function close socket, and then it is jumping to this function. And then here also all the instructions are kind of known to me, known to both of you, and then it is calling the function, and then here it is like popping the stack, clearing the stack, while leaving the, like, lot of things went to the stack before the function was called. So when the function is about to return over here, it is popping everything out of the stack, it's clearing the stack over here, and then it is returning to the callee function. So I hope now most of the code that you are seeing over here, it's very, very kind of, you are getting confident, okay, I can understand what the code are doing over here, right?
Yes, Praveen. Yes.
Oh, great.
Yeah, okay.
Okay. So that was the first question. And what code is executed if the condition is met, the if block? So the second question we indirectly answered, like what code, it was the left side. If the condition is met, it was the right side, the condition was met. And if the condition was not met, it was the else block. Okay, so these are all three questions we have actually answered just by viewing this instruction over here. Okay, so this is now clear to all of you, I guess. And now the fourth part you can do in your free time. You can just maybe look more complicated if else statement in this function 40f530. And now kind of guys, if there is any question, let me know, or I will be stopping today's class, and then we will go to the loop section. And one of the pending part that I have in mind is actually to showcase you guys the flag that are being set and how the jump are dealing with that flag. So that's one of the things that I will be showcasing that maybe in the next class along with the loop thing. So I hope everything is clear, right? Any questions for me?
No Praveen, no Praveen.
Okay, great then. So I will be stopping now. Okay, then I will be stopping the sharing now, and I will be closing the meeting. Okay, guys.
Oh, thank you, Praveen.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.